what is called positive chain. And every time they see you and that goofy hat you wear, they go, oh, for God's sake, don't give that guy no ticket. I have actually been pulled over, listening to the program, didn't have no plates on my car. Policeman called, he says, you got positive ID on the guy? And a friend of mine was taping it off his police radio. He said, yeah, it's him. He said, well, for God's sake, don't give that guy no ticket. And the guy says, Sarge, he ain't got no plates on his car. I said, I don't give a damn what he ain't got on his car. Don't give that guy no ticket. He said, but Sarge, he told me he's just been waiting to fight it and beat it all the way to the Supreme Court, and I wrote that on the ticket. He says, you give that guy a ticket? I said, I just told you not to give that guy a ticket. What are you, deaf? You got some problem with your hearing? He said, I told you not to give that guy a ticket. Now, why did you give that guy a ticket? He said, Sarge, he ain't got no plates on the car. I said, I told you I don't care what he ain't got on the car. This is all recorded on a radio broadcast. So everybody was laughing. The police were laughing. Everybody was laughing. His buddies were laughing. They were ribbing him over the radio. The sergeant told him, all right, knock it off. Clear the net. This is serious. He said, fine. He said, you give him a ticket? He says, fine. He says, tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, I want you to be in here when the city attorney comes in here, and he says, you're going to personally deliver the ticket to him, and he ain't going to be real happy with you. Because he hates that guy. Every time he goes to court, that guy blows his doors off. He looks like a fool. You give the guy a ticket. Now he's got to go to court. So sure enough, we go to court. Come up before the court. Judge starts operating like a prosecutor. He starts asking me all kind of discovery question. I call it as soon as they call the case. Now this is something important. You got to understand. You're going to be your own attorney, then you got to know all of the programming. When you hear him call your case, you get off your tail feather and you run right up there as quick and expediently as possible without knocking anybody down, and you say, "Ready, Your Honor." You state your appearance. I'm so-and-so, hearing before this honorable court. I am standing as my own counsel. In my state, it's under Article 1, Section 13. I've appointed myself my own attorney, and I'm ready to proceed with my administrative and procedural matters. And at this time, Your Honor, may it please the court, I motion for dismissal with prejudice, failure to state a cause of action for which relief can be granted. Bingo! Now, I apologize if I'm talking too fast. I'm going to try and slow down a little bit, but when you're in court as much as I am, you just learn. You either talk fast or you lose. So I apologize if I'm going a little too fast. I'm going to slow down. I'm trying to make it easier for you folks, okay? But the judge bips off right away. Well, you got a ticket on such and such. I said, whoa, Your Honor. I said, are you the judge, the disinterested third party that's trying this case? The trier of fact? He said, yes. I said, okay. I said, is this the prosecutor over here to my right? He said, yeah, that's him. I said, okay. I said, are you going to prosecute this case, Your Honor? He said, no, I'm the judge. I said, then why are you asking discovery questions? Well, I just want to find out what's going on. I says, isn't that his job over there? That's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to present his case as the prosecutor, trier of the case. You're the trier of fact, he's the trier of the case. I said, if you're going to operate as the judge and the prosecutor, I'm going to object on the record as a mistrial. He said, okay, I'll let you enter that on the record. Go ahead. I said, okay, let it be entered on the record as an appealable issue. He said, okay. He said, now it's on the record. He said, let me ask you this. You get a ticket on September the 30th? I said, yes, sir. He said, well, let me ask you this. Do you have any plates on your car? I says, no, sir. And I don't intend to get any. And now, of course, all the people in the court, oh, this guy's going to jail. Watch this. This is going to be good. He says to me, he says, I assume you have a very good reason for that. And I said, yes, sir, and I shut up. I waited. He said, can I hear it? I said, well, Your Honor, I said, I'm an unfranchised common law free man. I'm not a participant in any tontine schemes of limited liability on a joint venture for profit with an insurable interest requiring me to participate in these corporate Ponzi schemes. I'm just a little Joe from Kokomo. I live on the block. I travel at the common law. And I have a right to travel freely and unencumbered pursuant to Shapiro versus Thompson, and that right is so basic it doesn't even need to be mentioned. The state of Michigan arbitrarily and erroneously converted my right into a privilege and issued a license plate and a fee for it. Murdoch versus Pennsylvania says no state may convert a secured liberty into a privilege and issue a license and a fee for it. And if they do, Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham, Alabama says I can ignore the license and engage in the right with impunity. That means you can't punish me. Since I have relied on previous decisions of the U.S. Supreme Court and on constitutional defenses, I have a perfect defense for willfulness. I am immune to the prosecution. Therefore, prosecution counsel does not have a cause of action for which relief can be granted. I'd motion for dismissal with prejudice for failure to state a cause of action for which relief can be granted, and I'd kind of like to collect my costs and fees for having to defend this frivolous case. The judge starts reading the ticket. Told officer he'd just been waiting to get this ticket so he could fight it and beat it all the way to the Supreme Court. He laughed. He says, motion granted, and he ran off the bench before I could get my damages. So I went out in the hall. He went to the can. I waited for him. He came out of the can. I served him with my papers. He said, you didn't have to do that. I said, well, I didn't want you to be inconvenienced, Judge. He said, okay. He signed. I went back in the court as a casual thing just to see what kind of reaction would happen, and I sat down. About 2 cases later, this elderly gentleman gets up, and he stands up there, and he says, Your Honor, I'm not quite as knowledgeable as that young gentleman that was here just 2 cases ago, and I don't presume to understand all of the issues that he raised. But it really sounded good to me, and I'd kind of like to ditto everything he said on top of my case. Everybody broke out laughing. The judge says, all right, how many guys here didn't have no plates on their car? About 5 guys raised their hand. He says, okay, everybody dismissed. Get the hell out of here. And everybody broke out laughing. It was like, you know, at the carnival on Christmas or something, you know. It was a carnival atmosphere. So I'm telling you, you can affect change. And see, they had all figured. They said, watch this guy's going to jail. And then all of a sudden, boom, out jumped. And I mean, I'm telling you, it's this little book right here, this book. You know what's in this book? You have power. Knowledge is power. You know what's in this book, and you know how to exercise your rights in a timely fashion. You have constitutional rights.